Who would win in a fight? Mike Tyson or Bruce Lee? A gorilla or a grizzly bear? Superman or Batman? Centuries of the boys gathered around lunch tables eating questionably sourced slabs of meat, asking these very questions, but most important of all, would the captain crunch the skulls of his victims? Would the end of Lucky the Leprechaun's rainbow be filled with magically delicious graves? Would Toucan Sam follow his nose to the fruity taste of his opponent's blood? And will you actually sit through this entire— No, okay, please, don't. Now, ranking the perceived strength of fictionalized characters is a real challenge. In the realm of serial mascots, these creatures do not abide by our reality, or in some cases, any real form of consistency at all. In order to achieve a maximum level of journalistic integrity, I had to do some extensive research to truly understand the power these entities possessed, watching a plethora of serial commercials from the 1950s to the current decade. Here is a list of our contestants now. I did my best to cover all of the currently represented mascots in the United States right now, but as certain mascots lose support or are replaced, it's a bit hard to keep up with the changing times. Like, whatever happened to the Toast Man? Now we just got these little square dudes. Either way, no lists online are consistent, but I've done my best to include the most well-known mascots while leaving out any special serials promoted by celebrities or by characters from other mediums. Who will fall on the battlefield? Who will devour the hearts of their victims? And most importantly, why did the CIA assassinate the Toast Man? Let's find out.
It's all that cinnamon and sugar that makes those crunchy little squares so irresistible.
Despite the cravings of these crazy squares, they unfortunately will be placing at the bottom of this toasted totem pole. The Cinnamon Toast Man has been met with a weak replacement, and although on the surface level these primordial cereal entities might seem intimidating, they're anything but. Standing at about the height of a regular piece of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, these little quadrilaterals are extremely fragile, cannibalistic, and possibly immortal unless consumed. Not sure about that one, but they do move when broken into crumbs, so Not really sure what you would call that. All in all, although these weirdos have some interesting characteristics, their weak nature and tendency to prioritize eating each other means that in a battle against any other opponent, they would likely meet a swift defeat.
Hello, they're called Applejacks!
Second to last comes the iconic duo from Applejacks. A childhood favorite of mine, Apple and Cinnamon might have been the most notorious rivals of all time, up there with the likes of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur. As much as I might love the pair, compared to their opposition, they're overall relatively weak. Coming in at about the approximate size of their real-life food counterparts, they both boast an impressive athletic ability, and if this wasn't a competition of who would have beat me in the 400-meter dash in 8th grade track that my mom forced me to participate in, they probably would have whipped my ass easily. Unfortunately, though, this isn't the case, and although Apple does seem to have the ability to make some fairly impressive gadgets, outside of that, in their perfect diving form, which, to be fair, could help them exceed in, like, aquatic combat, they would likely be beaten by almost anyone else on the list. Well, besides the squares. They would fucking demolish the squares.
You like some cornflakes?
Representative of one of the worst cereals on the goddamn planet is the one and only Cornelius the Rooster. He's a rooster. Afraid of Bernie Sanders, Larry Sanders, and of course, Colonel Sanders, this chicken has been the spokesman of cornflakes for at least like 60 years or some shit. I don't really know. Although occasionally boasting an impressive display of strength in his television appearances, it seems that Cornelius tends to have strayed from his gym habits fairly frequently over the years, meaning he's usually not the strong, hard we've seen before. Maybe if Cornelius was a bigger chicken, or maybe if we wouldn't keep forgetting he had a Planet Fitness membership, he'd rank higher on the list, but this rooster is going to be ranking clucking low.
Oh, brother, this guy Raisin Bran, oh shit!
At first, Sonny was ranked at the top of the list under the general assumption that he was just actually the fucking son, but under further forensic investigation examining his many appearances over the years, he's not nearly as strong as he might seem to be. Although greater in size than someone like the Applejacks duo, this son doesn't seem to offer much else besides his ability to scoop raisins. It's worth noting, though, that the son does kind of control roosters, so Cornelius would be down for the count, and also serves as a direct counter to vampires, so Count Chocula would also instantly lose this matchup, but this assumes he actually has the same properties of the son, which are highly debated, to say the least. Evidence to go against him being the actual son is his size comparison to those around him in his commercials, as well as his ability to be very close to living beings in his commercials without burning them alive. So safe to say, bro is not 5,778 degrees Kelvin. But if he were, he'd probably be at the top of the list. But for now, he's here.
Snap, crackle, Rice Krispies.
Yes. the iconic trio of one of the world's blandest cereals. Showing off their fighting ability back in the late 30s in one of their first commercials, they seem mighty, but outside of this occurrence, the group seems to hardly fight. To be fair though, they do show some capability in a variety of ways. Although they are relatively small, coming in at the size of one of my various containers of schizophrenia meds I refuse to take, Proportional to their size, these dudes are kinda jacked, able to lift a milk carton that's like 20 times bigger than them. Not only that, but they seem to be able to materialize random items, having access to explosives, albeit tiny ones, and can definitely bust a move. Something that would definitely require a good amount of team coordination. There also seems to be evidence that they are aliens from a planet called Kellogg's. And in certain commercials, they can transform into Liver King-built superhero versions of themselves, but I'm not sure how canon this is to the serial cinematic universe. Similarly, the Australian version of these blokes can fly, so needless to say, these goons' powers are all over the fucking place. Their high-skilled coordination, comparative strength, and ability to set up traps and explosives means they'd likely tackle opponents ranked lower on the list, but unfortunately, their small size limits how powerful these omnipotent onomatopoeias can truly be.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
Dig'em the frog, ready to honey smack the taste buds off of anybody's sugar-coated ass. But would he win? Probably not. As much as I love frogs, Dig'em does not possess too much to beat most cereal mascots, but I'd say he offers a few advantages to those ranked below him on the list. First off, he's around half the size of a cereal box, larger than a majority of the previous contenders. He also possesses an extreme level of athletic ability, a long-ass tongue, as well as the power to fly. Similarly to the elf trio, he has demonstrated a keen ability to set up traps for his opponents, which, if planned properly, could bump him up a spot or two on the list. With all this in mind, he might not be the strongest, but I think for a good few, he'd be a worthy adversary.
That's why I love
Captain
Crunch.
Although I may love the cereal, I'd honestly say that the shit is more harmful to the top of my mouth than Captain Crunch could ever be to me. The Captain, as his name suggests, does hold a bit of military prowess, but other than that, this motherfucker is stupid as hell, and seems incapable of properly operating a ship, which is, kind of his whole character, right? Although other commercials do seem to show him being able to, sail a ship well, holy hell, there is no excuse for this one.
There.
The only other ability he seems to offer is high charisma with blatant racial stereotypes and the capability to blind his opponents with his concealed bald head. Overall, if Captain Crunch were any smaller than a normal-sized human being, he'd be ranked hella low. But he does have this vertical advantage over his predecessors, as well as that bald boy swag.
According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground.
Yep. Captain Crunch is getting beat by a bee. I do not care. On paper, Buzz might not seem capable of taking on the likes of Dig'em, an animal known for eating flying insects, or even Captain Crunch, whose species is at the top of the food chain. But that's where you're wrong, bucko. His size, approximately 1/6 the height of a cereal box, may fool you, but similar to the onomatopoeia trifecta, he is proportionally strong for his size, able to lift up a whole cereal box. Being a bee, he is also able to fly, and in recent years has gained access to a weapon of mass destruction, the likes of which could challenge Oppenheimer himself, the Honey Scepter. If all of this wasn't enough, he can apparently dodge bullets sometimes, and of course, we can't forget those dance moves. Yes, he may be small, but he is somewhat mighty. Kind of. Ish.
What's up, Doc? Shh, there's a rabbit down there, and I'm trying to catch him.
Silly rabbit, that's... yes, the discount Cocoa Puff bird. Funnily enough, in my research for this character, I found that him and Sonny the Cocoa Puff bird were both voiced by the same actor, Dave Shea, at one point in time. This drug addict has been obsessed with getting his hands on Trix cereal for at least the past 50 years, and he has never seemed to succeed. Although he's constantly beaten by children and could arguably rank lower, his fast speed and highly unpredictable nature allow him to get high on this list, despite his very obvious shortcomings.
I can turn myself into a wolf. Can I show you?
Oh boy, another crackhead cereal mascot driven by the lustful desire to consume the product he's advertising. Similarly to our boy the Trix Rabbit over here, Chip the Wolf is constantly beaten by children in an attempt to obtain the coveted Cookie Crisp, which, man, they ain't even trying to hide the fact this shit is bad for you, I guess. It's just cookies, man. Anyway, the only real reason Chip ranks higher than the Trix Rabbit is because of his seemingly high levels of brain activity, allowing him to create a variety of inventions that, although may not always be successful, are impressive nonetheless. Also, in a real life scenario, a wolf would absolutely tear the stupid rabbit motherfucker limb from.
I'm the biggest bird. I'm the biggest bird.
On a surface level, you might think Toucan Sam is, well, just a toucan. But how wrong you would be, my friend. This dude can fly, can sail a ship, arguably better than that self-proclaimed captain, Mr. Crunch. Fight pirates, and is apparently strong enough to climb rope, despite, having wings, which I'm not sure why he wouldn't just fly in this scenario, but, pretty buff, I guess. Not only that, but this bird can wrangle, elephants? And survive the vacuum of space? What powers does this entity possess? Yeah, safe to say this dude Samuel over here got some interesting powers. Did he obtain them from Fruit Loops? We may never know, although he is probably beating the shit out of Chip and his stupid cookie cereal.
What's he doing?
He's just standing there, menacingly.
Quaker Oats man has received little to no commercial spotlight outside of him being featured on a logo of oatmeal. Centuries has he been staring into the souls of countless victims, ready to strike at any moment. For this reason, ranking his power level has been fairly tough, but I think we can all agree this dude is built as hell. The only logical abilities that could be assumed about this man is that since he was a Quaker, he had a very high probability of being hella racist and prejudiced against other religious beliefs. For this reason, we know this man is a villain, he is evil, and he will go to any length to assure his next victim is taken care of. And that's why he's here. For as long as this world has oatmeal, we have him.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
You're putting me on.
No, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
1/3 of the monster cereal trio. Frankenberry wields the power to resist the wildly ineffective and unethical effects of conversion therapy, using this electrical power to instead power himself, wielding the chains of his captor to become an unbreakable machine. Up until now, we've been unable to see the real raw strength from most of our contenders, but Frankenberry is a unit. He is not without his flaws, however, as he is easily scared and intimidated. Would he lack the fighting spirit to brutally destroy his enemies? We can't know for certain, which is why he ranks under the next on the list, but if given the right circumstance, he would demolish most who challenged him.
I'm in love with the cocoa.
The king of all substance-abusing cereal mascots. This bird is Cuckoo for the Cocoa and the Cocoa. Compared to the Trix Rabbit and Chip the Wolf, this dude is the Flash on crack, operating at supersonic speeds, all while spinning around like a Beyblade doing it. Now this alone possibly couldn't be enough to stop the likes of Frankenberry. That was until I found out he also takes advantage of psychological warfare tactics, using the power of Cocoa Puffs to convert people into addicts just like himself. And for these reasons, he lands at the number 6 spot.
Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick, blood. I'll suck your blood.
An icon, a hero, a legend. Undoubtedly a scary opponent, Count Chocula wields the ability of telekinesis, electricity, flight, shapeshifting, and is pretty jacked despite those tiny little arms. Count Chocula is undoubtedly stronger than those before him, but does he have any weaknesses? Well, as mentioned earlier in the video, although not specifically shown in commercials, he more than likely has a weakness to sunlight, meaning he would be beat by the goddamn raisin scooper, which, let me tell you, Count, is not a good look. Pair that up with his ability to be easily scared, especially by children, and it's tough to predict how well he'd function in a fight, especially under pressure. But in the right circumstance, you better watch your back for the deliciously chocolatey taste of General Mills' Count Chocula.
Is there anybody in here?
Yes, Casper's fruity cousin. Blueberry, much like others on this list, is truly tough to pinpoint the exact limitations of his power. There are some examples in which he is unable to be touched by other people, with evidence also existing of the opposite. He is indeed a ghost, but how do we define a ghost's abilities? We can tell he can willingly choose to interact with items in the real world, but does this apply to other living creatures? We may never know. But with this power alone, it's safe to say that despite his cowardice, a trait shared by his brothers, he is possibly invincible. For this reason, he could be at the top of the list, but with evidence showing him being unknowingly touched by others, we have to assume that he would instead land here at the number 4 spot.
Yes, I've done steroids, and yes, I am on steroids, monitored and managed by a trained hormone clinician.
I think that without any extensive research, it's safe to assume that Tony the Tiger would be a top contender on this list. Man is built like a pizza oven, and I'm not a furry dog, but I guarantee DeviantArt got hella posts of Tony on there. Dude's gotta be the Chris Evans of the furry fandom. That being said, I couldn't let my initial interpretation sway my journalistic integrity. Research needed to be done, and Tony was the beast I expected him to be. Olympic levels of athleticism, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s adopted son, Clint Eastwood's sidekick, furry Houdini, the main character in a spy thriller. What can't this tiger do? And this is only the stuff that's accepted into the general Tony the Tiger lore, but there are multiple commercials in which he seems to be able to turn into the Greek god himself, Zeus, unlocking the capabilities of super strength, lightning reflexes, and the ability to rip a human in half. You don't need a summary of his skills. He has no weaknesses. He is simply a god. But what's a god to a non-believer? He is a nihilist. He is unbreakable. He has no fear. Yeah, he might be the height of a child and dress like a dilf, but he is an eldritch entity not to be messed with. It's okay. At first, too, I was dismissive of his strength, but he is a machine programmed to kill. Video evidence exists of him abusing alligators, giving sharks CTE, uppercutting open beloved celebrity Moby Dick, and being friends with, Michael Jackson? But could he beat Tony, I hear you say? And this question was answered without hesitation, destroying not one but 3 tigers in one foul swoop. But this is only raw strength, I hear you say. But not only does he move fast enough to break the barrier of sound, but he can pole vault the Great Wall of China, as well as possess ultra instinct. But can he? Yes. Yes, he can. He has mastered the ways of space-time ninjutsu. He cannot be stopped. He is inevitable. Unless... and at the top of a pile of bodies, there stood but one. Flying over the battlefield on his cane-sugar chariot, Lucky the Leprechaun. The name alone strikes fear in the hearts of many. Seas of milk party beneath his feet. You may think, well, doesn't this guy get captured by children? And you'd be correct, but the truth is that, to him, it is a game. Rarely ever demonstrating his true power to these children, but for an instant. Especially later on in the commercials, he is hardly, if ever, captured, perhaps now too strong to be challenged by these mortals any longer. But what can he do? What makes him so terrifying? Well, the better question is, what can't he do? Time is merely his tool, able to be controlled on a whim with his charms. Sugar Bear's teleportation skills? Just another weapon in Lucky's arsenal. And you thought one of him was terrifying? Try 8. It was recorded in 2013 as a show of his true power to the United States government that he blew up the moon in only a few seconds. If his raw powers alone wouldn't be enough, he has access to multiple powerful relics as well as the ability to summon objects on command. When you sleep, sleep with one eye open, for you never know when you'll hear his petrifying voice. But at that point, it'll already be too late. Hey everyone, thank you for watching through this video. It was a blast to make something like this, and in the future, if this goes well, look out for other stupid types of content like this. Special thanks to this channel's patrons, Mads, Sherry, Commander Cha-Cha, Dave the Unknown, as well as our newest patron, Yold. If you'd like to join these amazing people, link is down in the description as always. Thank you everyone as always for tuning in. I hope to see you around for the next one. And take care.